Namaskar. Welcome back to our part 2 of transaction analysis. So far in part 1, we discussed with our subject expert, Mr. Vedya, how is psychoanalysis and transaction analysis related to each other, how it is different from psychoanalysis, what is the application, what is the school talking about, and what all different aspects it covered. Moving ahead in part 2 with our subject expert, Mr. Vedya. Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
So it's been an interesting discussion, and somewhere in this part, we were at a place where we wanted to explore about how this technique of transaction analysis, if at all, can be used in psychoanalytical psychotherapy setup.
It's a very good question because primarily deals with integration. And school integration is something very dear to my heart and something which is lacking in the psychotherapy world. That, sorry, can we bring the best of some school into another school? And that larger question translates here into a specific question of bringing transaction analysis into psychoanalysis. It's very useful if we take certain parts of transaction analysis and bring them in for certain purposes at certain particular junctions in therapy, psychoanalytic therapy.
Right.
The first is about optimization. That obviously when we talk about health, one way to define health would be subjective optimization of the parent, adult, and child. That is speaking about optimization in the language of transaction analysis. Just as we would talk about id, ego, superego optimization. But id, ego, superego might be too esoteric, too deep, too elusive for a layman. But parent, adult, child resonate with a layman. So it's easy to point out that how would you look at this interaction with a particular person, this transaction? What stance you have taken, what stance he has taken? Doesn't it look like a parent-child interaction instead of an adult-adult interaction? And this terminology of transaction analysis can easily be used first to create awareness. Where the problem is mild or mild to moderate, bring about healing by awareness and will and practice. And where possible, indirectly this will bring about, like most cases, you will have a problem where the person has too strong a child. If you look at the hierarchy of problems in terms of transaction analysis, most common will be the problem of too strong a child, right? Where you will by and large have majority of pathology. Second will be the too strong a parent, a large part of which will be superego pathology and dependence. And when you talk of this, that you have to optimize the parent, adult, and child, that optimization is very important. And there is a core difficulty of integrating thought with feelings. So from optimizing parent, adult, and child, when you go deeper, you start looking at optimizing the integration of thought and affect. So this
can you explain it a little more, the thought and the affect part?
Right. Let us say somebody has a problem of dependence.
Hmm.
He is too giving. He is too pleasing. So what is happening? The feelings are predominating and the thought component is less than it should be. The rational thought is much less than it should be. So
Right.
the person does not have a balance between rational thought and feeling.
Right.
So what we need is a balancing of thought and feelings. The person is all feelings and the proportion of thought is less than it should be, and therefore the person is thinking out of his heart and not thinking out of his head. And this can easily be exploited by others. A person who functions from his heart can easily be exploited by others who are functioning out of their head. So this person who is functioning out of his heart needs to balance heart with the head, feelings with thought. So the thought feeling balance is missing. So the inquiry can start from parent, adult, and child and slowly go towards optimization of thought and affect, and bring thought where affect is pathologically operating. To use Freud's words, bring ego where the id is. So today where the id is, tomorrow there the ego will be. Today where blind feeling is, tomorrow there enlightened thought will be. So transaction analysis is a very good starting point for this kind of deeper changes, deeper healing that we aim in psychoanalysis through a variety of other tools also. And then, sorry, sorry. And then there is another aspect of starting with transaction analysis and going into psychoanalysis. Like, you see that you are working in an organization and you are dealing with your subordinate more as a parent than as a boss. It's more heart than the head. Heart is where the head should be. It's more affect and less thought. Thought has to be where the feelings are.
Right.
And then you start looking at how this started. Another way of talking about the same thing is in terms of transference. That how come you started transferring, right, as a parent onto that person and took that person as a child? Is it that you were transferring his parent onto him, or is it that his child solicited a counter transference from you?
Exactly.
Right? So how did this parent-child equation came into existence instead of a boss subordinate equation? So maybe what we look at in transaction analysis, the deeper aspect of it has to do with certain transferences. And then the question will be, why these transferences? Which will take us deeper into the aspect. So it's also a good starting point to look at transferences, counter transferences. And these transferences and counter transferences will take us into a deeper seeking that below the transference, what is the desire? The transfer doesn't happen just like that. There is a prior template, there is a prior experience, there is a prior desire, there is a prior fear, there's something. So transaction analysis becomes an occasion to start a deeper journey into the much deeper part of ourselves, which we want to do in psychoanalysis. It's a very convenient and a very effective starting point. And then deeper still can be catharsis. And deeper still restructuring after catharsis. So transaction analysis can be a good starting point for optimizing where it's mild to moderate, or a good transaction analysis can be a very good tool within the psychoanalytic context also for healing mild to moderate, and a very good starting point in moderate to severe and severe. And it's a very convenient and understandable starting point through which we can go to the very depths of the psyche and finally achieve catharsis and restructuring.
So when we see this effective way of initiating the therapy itself, don't you think that the destiny has been harsh with transactional analysis, the way it is seen now and not being applied?
I would agree completely with you that destiny has been quite harsh with transaction analysis. It did not have been so sidelined as it is today. And this school did not develop much further after what Eric Berne had done. So the type of followers that Freud and Jung and Klein had, probably we did not have those kind of followers for transaction analysis. Also, I would say for Kohut. Also, I would say for Winnicott. To some extent, also true of Beyond.
Yeah.
But much acutely true for transaction analysis. So the fresh idea it brought of having the unit of analysis as a transaction and the core template of I am okay, you are okay, which is self-acceptance and acceptance of the other. And this whole feeling of I am good enough. It was very important and very precious, unfortunately not used adequately today, except for a very small group which still is into transaction analysis in terms of practice and development, not in the center anymore. Whereas it should have been far more in the, I should not say the center, but it should not have been in, should have been in far more limelight than it is today. I mean, it should have been one of the trees in the afternoon rather than a shadow in the evening. So destiny
And
has
it can
been
also
harsh.
be a transitional phase where there is a stuckness in the therapy. There can be a better way of exploring using things like this
Right.
as a tool itself.
Correct. And other schools have not integrated adequately from this therapy certain very good things, because I am okay, you are okay, and all the tools transaction analysis gives us for that. Parent, adult, child, the crossed transactions, the healthy transactions. It provides very good arsenal to look at certain things. For example, I am okay, you are okay is a very good starting point to address the fear of attack, the fear of loss, and the foundations of everything, the fear of death and fear of pain. We also see in personality disorders a severe mirroring failure, the 5 A's: acknowledgement, attention, acceptance, affection, and admiration. And a deficit in this, right, creates many of the characteristics of personality disorders. And this leads to a perpetual, not a perpetual, but an enduring fear and a very harassing, often harrowing fear of loss and attack. So if we had developed transaction analysis enough, integrated it enough, I think by now we would have developed a strong basket of tools and understanding at the process level. And that would have enriched both psychoanalysis and transaction analysis. Even if transaction analysis would not have been at the center, many of its findings could have been integrated and enriched psychoanalysis. So in that sense, because this has not happened, I think you are correct when you say destiny has been far more harsher to transaction analysis than it should have been.
So when we talk about this integration of schools, sometimes partially, sometimes 50-50, can transaction analysis be connected to the holistic framework of healing itself, according to your expertise?
In an elusive way, it has happened. Because today, if we see the whole area of inner child healing, so popular, it essentially is based upon work of Freud, Klein, Margaret Mahler, Winnicott, Kohut, and also transaction analysis. Just that we don't give
Acknowledge
credit.
those schools.
Yeah, we don't give credit to where it is due. So in a way, some findings of transaction analysis, especially I am okay, you are okay, and the parent, the child and adult, and the optimization of them, and looking at the transaction between two people as healthy or pathological. That has been integrated by many holistic schools, many holistic packages. Often they are not schools, but they are healing packages, which are like technical structures, which are based upon fundamental schools. And you have many of them in the play therapy area. You have many of them in the area of healing with workshops, healing with short-term programs, healing with focus on one particular affect or one particular phenomena like inner child. So some sort of integration already is happening without giving due credit to. It's almost like an unknowing stealing of something. Second part is about, can the insights of this be brought into more popular schools of holistic healing, say pranic healing? Of course it can be. Like once you know if the child has to be healed or the parent has to be healed, you can start pranic healing work on that particular entity. Or you know that the child is misfiring and making somebody a parent when somebody is of a particular type, you start healing on that. So it can definitely be integrated with energy healing of all sorts, be it Reiki, crystal, pranic, any sort of energy healing. If you talk about the Eastern traditions, we can look at addressing these problems with bhakti or with idol therapy. Like a weak child, how do you address? An overstrong child, an overstrong seeking of the parent, how do you address? So idol science is a science which is a vast science. One component of it is idol therapy, which is at the core of Hinduism, Hindu spirituality, that can be used in conjunction, or some insights from transaction analysis can be taken there, and healing process of that part can be used. So analysis from transaction analysis and healing component from that school. Same about Tantra. Right? The right hand part of Tantra, the Ghor Tantra, and also the Das Mahavidya part of Tantra, all the three you can use for healing. A very important part is about using literature and mythology and living it out to address the parent, adult, or child, using literature, art, mythology, and living it out. It's a very important way of exploring and healing it. It's a very Jungian way. And it can also be done, lived out subjectively alone, or along with a therapist or a guru, or in the form of psychodrama. That you can take the problem from TA and solve it in psychodrama. Lastly, if you look at psychoanalysis, transaction analysis, and holistic healing, and you combo it, it enriches everyone, it heals everyone, and every school develops and enriches itself, and everything put together is a very rich harvest from conceptual and healing standpoint.
It has been a refreshing and enriching conversation, and hope all our viewers are going to enjoy this. See you all again. Namaste.
Namaste.